I've been watching Atterbury Official on TikTok, and I'm so grateful that finally someone is fighting for kids' rights in schools. I'm 30 now, so it's been a while since I was at school, but it still is upsetting to hear that the school system hasn't changed in all that time. When I was at school, I had a horrible experience in my son's school, and there was a lot of abuse and mistreatment. The abuse in my school was intense due to ableism. I want to share some of my experiences to spread awareness. These stories involve SA and bullying. This will be triggering for some people, so please watch with caution. And just one final disclaimer, I'm not saying all teachers and schools in the UK are bad. There's bad apples in every profession. But I believe teachers shouldn't be allowed to bully students, the same way students shouldn't be allowed to bully teachers. Because there's a big difference between a teacher using discipline when necessary and a complete power grab. I remember when I was starting my first day at my school and the headmaster asked me what I wanted to do here. I said I wanted to do cross country because I'm rubbish at running and want to get fit. He replied saying I can't do that because I talk too much and that everyone in this school was God's mistake and it was his job to fix us. I didn't think I talked that much, but I now hardly talk and people wonder why, because when I did I was shut down by adult bullies. The head teacher's name is Mr. Payne Barry. Yes, I'll name and shame him. He was a full-blown narcissist and would yell and scream very abusively at students in the corridor in an unnaturally aggressive way. Even my mom has never yelled like that at me. He also beat up a severe needs autistic kid because he thought the boy was calling the deputy head fat. I've even reported this to the police, but as usual they did nothing because the boy is nonverbal, so apparently that justifies doing F all. Just like they did when I was sawed by a boy in my school, but I'll get to that in a minute. So basically what happened was the boy was looking at the World's Guinness Record book and went up to the deputy head and showed her the picture of the world's fattest man. Mr. Payne thought the boy was implying that she was fat because, no offense, she is a big lady. So Mr. Payne wanted to make an example out of him to impress the deputy that he doesn't support fat phobia. He starts aggressively pushing and punch-jabbing and pushing the boy very hard with his fingers and yelling at him in the corner that if he was that man in the world's record book, he would be disgusted in him for saying that. The boy had a feeding tube connected to his stomach, so the fact he was being punched there made the whole situation even more messed up. The worst thing was all I could do was watch this boy being pushed around like a ragdoll, knowing no one would do anything in my school if I had reported it. And because it was only us in the room and no other witnesses, it was my word against him and the deputy. She would never admit anything happened because she was one of his enablers. But I don't believe it would have made a difference anyway, as the police wouldn't do anything about it. I hated that in my school you didn't have to do anything wrong to get in trouble, and was sick to death of them pretending they cared about our mental health and safety when every day they proved otherwise, especially with how they dealt with my SA experience. I can't go into detail about it as platforms are too strict on censorship. But basically after I was sawed just 3 days after it happened, I didn't want to be in the same waiting area for the taxi home as the boy that hurt me because I was still traumatized. Our evil maths teacher screamed at me that I should be over my SA after 3 days and to grow up. She pushed me in the room as I'm crying and showed no empathy for what I went through. And on his last day when he was leaving school, they threw a party for him, and the teachers pulled up a chair and made me sit next to him. They said that we should apologize to each other because it was in the past, as if that changes what he did to me. I felt hurt and gaslighted, but apologized to him because I was made to feel like I was the problem. It was a huge slap in the face, and it is disgusting how when it happened the police as usual did nothing, because apparently being autistic gives him a free pass, even though he is on the same end of the spectrum as me to know better. The police love protecting boys who SA because this is a common theme. I know this because I've talked to someone who told me about how police didn't want boys in her school having criminal records, so nothing was done. This is a common theme in our justice system. As a result, it goes underreported. So I now want to talk about our evil maths teacher, Ms. Wilkes. I've heard rumors that when Mr. Payne retired as headmaster, the new headmaster fired her because she was bullying a student. She has gotten away with being cruel for far too long because Mr. Payne would do nothing. I just wish she was fired when I was at school. She would scream at us for not understanding something and accuse us of not listening. So many teacher assistants had Stockholm Syndrome and was so desensitized to the abuse that they thought it was okay with us being treated so badly. I remember her having a go at me because on the color the number sheet she didn't say I couldn't color one of the numbers in. Apparently I was meant to be psychic. She gave me a detention and the teacher's assistants didn't see an issue with that. She also did something else that I don't remember because it was a long time ago when I was at school, but she made me cry so severely that I couldn't stop. My school counselor gave me more session time to cry it out. She also did the same thing to someone else. This was a common theme of hers getting away with shit. There also was another teacher that was almost as bad as her, called Miss Hawks. She has no people skills and would be god-awful to us. There was a situation where I got permission to have lunch break in the detention room with my friends so we didn't have to be in the rain outside. Miss Hawks barges in the room shouting that she is our teacher, so we have to ask her permission to go inside. I didn't know I needed to, as she's never told us that's what we needed to do before. Even the teachers that gave me permission were horrified at her speaking to us like that. They saw how much it upset me, so two of them talked to me in the room next to our classroom, trying to calm me down. They said they didn't agree with how she spoke to me when she could have just asked me to ask her next time instead of yelling at us. Miss Hawks then barges in that room, which she had no right to do, and had a go at me saying how dare I talk about her behind her back. She then dragged me out of the room. There was also another situation where there was this boy that kept having frequent meltdowns because they were always being horrible to him and didn't understand his sensory needs. So when he didn't want to wear his glasses, they called him a horrible boy. He was always crying upset, so one time they put him in our classroom, which was disrupting us. Miss Hawk says to all of us that she feels bad for our parents for not having normal children. For some reason, the school education system fails to understand that having severe needs in a school with moderate learning difficulties held us back, because we couldn't get the help when we needed it because they were always giving them full support. So when we needed help, they were almost always unavailable. We also got severely infantilized and treated like small children, which was insulting. The ones with complex needs like that boy made the environment harder. The school had no real training in understanding autism. I would talk about the rest of the experiences I've had, but we would be here all day. Thanks for listening if you have made it this far into the video, and please fight for kids' rights to have a good, safe school experience, because I don't want others to live with depression and anxiety as a result. I'm so grateful they can't hurt me anymore. But one thing I wish is that my headmaster would lose the best headmaster reward he got, that I saw in a newspaper article that was shared talking about it. I want him exposed for the things he did. Just because it happened in the past doesn't change the fact it still happened when it shouldn't have. If only there was cameras, so the world saw the person that he really is. I'll never forget how scared that boy looked in his eyes when Mr. Payne was pushing him around.